No, just kidding. Lindsay asked if I could chat with you guys today a little bit about bird control. So I'll do that. Obviously, an hour is just kind of almost a flyby commercial. We can talk about this for days. So without having an open conversation with everybody, which would be nice with a small group like this, we could ask more questions about what you guys want to learn or need to learn more about, or want answers to. So maybe we can do that in the future, or you can shoot questions to me, and Lindsay can ask me while I'm rambling on. But no, today I was gonna focus on why bird control, why it's important, how it can make you money, and then also a little bit about the different solutions that are out there, whether it's mine or other people's, or a combination of things, or techniques that don't even require products, or our products, our bird proofing products. So an hour is pretty quick. I'm going to try to fly through this as quickly as I can, just so I can go over all my slides. But if you do, maybe I can finish up a few minutes early, in case people have questions, or that I can answer that we didn't talk about on here. But again, I am available anytime. My team here is available at any time. We are on the West. Well, that's not true anymore. I'm on the West Coast, but I do have some reps on the East Coast as well too. So we have a full, from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. pretty much Western Pacific Standard Time. So without further ado, let me share my screen with you here if I can. Let's see here. Let's go with that, and then put my little presentation here if I can. Hopefully this shows up. Hopefully, can everyone see my little screen, a little welcome screen? All right.
Yep, I can see it.
All right, cool. All right, so basically, I know kind of start this out with everybody. Everyone's seen these things out there before, right? God owls, just we love these things in our industry, right? If you see a fake owl out there, it's a dollar sign, right? So it should be a flashing neon sign to you guys. So it's really getting your eyes open, looking up, and seeing the opportunity out there, right? So you've seen everyone. I wish I was inventor of these fake owls. I'd be fishing off the coast somewhere, but they're not doing their job, right? So they need a professional like yourself to go out there and solve their bird problems, right? I'm a manufacturer. I sell products, right? But you're selling solutions. So we want to offer professional solutions, when they're ready to do it right, then we're giving you guys a call, right? Bringing the professionals. You get what you pay for, right? So that's what you're looking at. Obviously, we know these things don't work. And we need a professional to go in there and do it properly. So it's a huge industry. It's growing, but it's unknown, right? These are some estimates that we came up with several years ago. That's all inclusive. That's trapping, that's poisoning, that's shooting, that's cleanup, that's everything. But there's good money in it, and regardless of your market, where the people are, the pest birds will follow, right? So the larger the population, the more pest birds you're going to have, and more bird human conflict you're going to experience. We can kind of talk about those conflicts here in a second, but what to share. We have to determine what you guys are going after, right? Whether it's your residential guys or commercial guys. So there's different products and different job sales cycles and things of that nature. But there's the average bird job, you're looking in $5,000-6,000 range, right? What's one of those a month? Add to your bottom line, your commissions or whatever. So got healthy margins. There is a mix of one-time and recurring revenue opportunities. Most of the time we're bird proofing, and there's really not a lot of recurring revenue to be had. But there are some products out there and techniques out there that do require monthly or quarterly or yearly maintenance or ongoing treatment. So there is some recurring revenue opportunities for you as well. So just keep that in mind. Again, you don't have to go after those big, you know, six-figure opportunities. So these little ones right here will you'll be able to close, you know, that month. You'll be able to install that month. You'll be able to install, you know, finish it within the week type of deal. Those are the smaller $5,000 to $10,000 job. But just know that the bigger ones are out there as well. The larger companies experience the same burden pressure as the smaller guys do too. So again, just look for it in your professional life as well as your private life. All right. So obviously you guys all have accounts right now that are going to experience bird issues at some point. You don't even have to go cold calling or anything like that. Your existing customer base are going to have bird issues, and they don't always know to call you. All right, so they're calling us. They're calling us because they don't know that the pest guys can handle the birds as well. They're surfing the web, typing in pigeon poop or bird spikes or whatever, and they're finding companies like us, right? And we need to refer those calls back to the service professionals that can go out there and solve the bird problem. So let them know. Again, you know, even on your private life, you're going to store on Saturday or church on Sunday, you're going to see bird issues out there. Just let them know you're the bird guy. So again, I love this section. Not only, you know, this is why they're calling us. This is the pain point for the customer. But this is also my sales tools right here. This is how I'm going to sell the job. This is how I'm going to show value and save the customer money on these. They might be calling for one of these issues. They might be calling for multiple of these, but this is usually what's hitting them hard, either in the pocketbook or shutdowns, citations, whatever, depending on what type of facility it is that you're dealing with. But traditionally, it was the image, you know. People just didn't like a dirty soil look on their property, right? So they're calling us up and putting up those fake owls and all that stuff to scare off those birds. But it's changed so much more. A lot of the more, you know, this is, I'll go over each one of these really, actually. But you know, what does that put off to the customer about your business, right? I'm trying to sell. In this case, I'm trying to sell sandwiches here, right? Bread. You know, we have choices, right? We can go down the street to a different sandwich shop and eat, you know, so we want to make sure we put off a good image to our customers that, you know, we have this healthy environment, you have clean food, you know, you have safe food. You're not going to get crapped on when you walk in the building. So we want to look at this and realize that, you know, hey, you're walking in the building, yeah, I'm going to dodge those birds, but I'm also thinking as a customer, hey, what about the back of this building where they're bringing the fresh bread? Are the birds back there too? Are they crapping on the food being brought in? So this just shows that the owner is lazy, doesn't care about the health and safety of his customers and employees. So just keep that in mind. This is hard to put a dollar amount to your customer, you know, as far as what is your image worth to you. It could be, you know, nothing. It could be worth millions of dollars to some of these larger global companies. So keep that in mind. Health risk is a growing, probably number one concern now, why we're getting calls, especially in, you know, post-COVID days. You know, everyone is concerned about safety and health and breathing in product, you know, bad stuff. When you get sick, pigeon droppings carry over 60 different diseases. All right, so nasty stuff. Several of us here have been sick in different levels. Obviously, there's, you know, when this fecal matter becomes dry and airborne, flaky, you know, the dust, you're breathing it in, getting your eyes, nose, mouth. That's when people get sick, and there's some really nasty stuff. I've lost some good installers over the years, actually, and the technicians, as far as just having lung issues, you know, histoplasmosis and some of the other nasty diseases that droppings carry. So, but again, you all seen this up on buildings before, right? This is different air handling units, duct work, all kinds of different equipment up on a roof that's left alone up there. And public usually doesn't see it. As you see, there's a little screen going around this thing. The birds are just left alone up there, and they just love it. But all that stuff's going to get sucked into the air, into the building, right? What if this is a senior center or a medical center where people already have reduced immune systems or effective immune systems? Again, it's kind of hard to put a dollar value to the health and safety of human life. But obviously that could be a huge motivation factor for businesses or organizations or the federal government for that matter. So again, be sure, you're looking at these things, the client might have called you just to keep birds off the edge of this building, right? I want you to get up there and see why they're up there in the first place. Because if you just wanted to treat that outside edge, get them off, they're crapping down the side. I don't want that image. Put some spikes up around the side. Well, you do that, and then once you sell them the spike job, you go up there and you see this. Spikes aren't going to do a darn thing, right? They're not going to leave that just because you put some spike on that ledge. They're gonna hunker down even more, or come closer and move. You're just going to chase them around the building. They're not going to leave their spot over here. So we got to address everything. We want to get up there where the birds are and figure out exactly what's going on. Now here's something that we can really put a hard dollar amount to and actually save your customers. We're talking earlier about the average size job, $5,000-6,000. That's a lot of money. Birth control is not cheap. Your time and labor is not cheap. You are dealing with some hazardous materials here. Like I said, there's a lot of diseases associated with it. But hey, Mr. Customer, what are you spending every month or a quarter or yearly on cleaning this stuff up? Right? It's very acidic. You need to get out there and clean this, or it's going to damage your property, which we'll talk about in the next slide or two. But clean up. How much are you spending all this? We can save you X amount of dollars if we bird-proof your roof here. So keep that in mind. Now we can start saving the customer some money here. Slip and fall risk. Again, droppings are slippery when wet. So I have dealt with some liability issues, right? And this is a simple, I can't see up and see where the birds are up on this column, but it's only about 10-15 feet across right there. So it can't be that much bird proofing to be done to solve this problem right here. But lawyers aren't cheap, right? So again, what's your liability, Mr. Customer? Slip and fall risk. I don't know what they average now. I don't know what the entry lawyers are getting these days, but it's high 5 figures, maybe even 6 figures in some cases, type of deal. So a small little $5,000 bird proofing job is a lot cheaper than a lawsuit type of deal. So that's my slide on here. Is just lawyers aren't cheap. Just keep that in mind. Property damage is a huge factor for clients, right? You're going to have the droppings have uric acid in it, and very acidic. Will eat through just about anything. I've seen corrosion eating through, leaving divots in concrete. There was a bridge in Minnesota. Probably over 10 years ago now, that collapsed. I don't know if you guys remember that one. But a major bridge collapse, and they blamed it on pigeon infestation. They were living for generations in the structural, both steel and concrete structure, and the droppings just eventually eroded through that system, and it came crashing down. So again, it'll cut a roof life in half. So again, if you're up on you have a piece of equipment like this up on your rooftop, it goes down for whatever reason, corrosion or whatever, gets contaminated up there. You call out your contractor to fix this. But one, he's not going to touch this thing until you clean it up. But two, then he's got to see if he can salvage it, replace it, or scrap the whole thing, whatever. So that's what's the lifespan of your equipment up there and property? You're going to have to replace it sooner than you're supposed to. And, if you had a 50-year roof and you're replacing it 25 years, that's going to add up. So keep that in mind. Clogged drains. This is an extreme here, but this happens. This is not the first time. I have some newer pictures of last year when the monsoons went through Arizona, did pretty much the same thing as this one here. But if you ever been up on a gas station rooftop, they're all pretty much the same. There's really not much to it. Really, there's some structural framework. You got the fake facade going around it, and it's supported by these columns, and that's it. There's no stairs or ladders up there. There's sometimes you'll have a satellite dish up there or something like that. There's really not much up there, but the pigeons love it because it's on a street corner. It's usually next to a retail store, a convenience store, donut shop, whatever, fast food. So it's a perfect spot for them up there, and they're left alone. And you'll see on the left side of that picture, you'll see years of caked up, trash and eggs and dead birds and fecal matter. You clog those drains up, and now you have no place for the water to go. Rainstorm comes through, and next thing you know, you got a swimming pool up there. Add some wind, and those structures aren't really designed to carry a swimming pool in the wind. So, but that's an extreme. I'm just saying, clogged drains cause major issues. Anything from residential, residential clogged drains, what are you going to have? You're going to have standing water. You're going to have, and that's going to lead to, bugs, mosquitoes on there. You're going to have dry rot. So a lot of things. That picture a few slides back where the cost of cleanup on that big, large, flat roof, that rubber membrane roof, you'll have pools of water up there, and that's heavy weight of water putting stress on that rooftop, which can fail. Large body of water. I don't know, you guys are in the central part of the country, don't have really issue with seagulls, but they love it up there with that water source. So a lot of things. Clogged drains can cause a major problem. Inventory damage is another big one. Again, pretty much this is just one example. Shipping companies or any business where you're shipping product, whether it's finished or raw materials, you've got a loading dock, right? Pigeons love loading docks, both inside the warehouse and outside the warehouse. So again, if they're living up above your product, you're going to have contaminated product. And yeah, this one you might be able to wipe off with a damp cloth or something like that, but you'll have companies that will reject shipment that looks like this. So that's extra freight costs. That's extra packaging cost. Obviously, if this is exposed, now you have to worry about contaminated product. But every retail place, whether you have I don't know, Bass Pro Shop or Home Depot or sporting goods stores, all those places have a front canopy that birds just love hanging out at, right? And what do those people do? They put product they're trying to move out front, and right in front of their doors there underneath that canopy. Barbecues or sheds or new car to car lot, whatever, that's where they're putting their stuff to show. And if there's birds living above it, crapping all over it, now we got to spend that time to either clean it, sell it at a discount, or trash it, and that adds up. That's a lot of money going down the drains type of deal. So keep that in mind. Inventory damage is a big cost to the customer, and you can save them a ton of money by bird proofing those areas. And then lastly, work stoppages. I don't know if any of you guys have AIB accounts on your food services or food manufacturing, packaging, whatever accounts. But obviously they have some strict, not only getting written up and audits and stuff like that, but some of these places have zero tolerance. And a bird gets inside some of these places, whether it's food or electronics or medical, they'll get shut down. And now when their production line gets shut down, now they're losing money by the minute. So obviously that's a very motivated customer. A lot of these places already have a bird program in place, and they're usually pretty good as far as keeping birds out. But it doesn't mean we can't help them with the exterior of the building also. You know, if we can maybe bird proof around the perimeter or underneath those loading docks or canopies, there's going to be less birds accidentally finding their way into the structure as well. So keep that in mind. Those are the main prime reasons, you know, so I'd like to have those in my back pocket as far as, you know, when I get pushed back on, yeah, it's $10,000. That's way too much. Well, here's how I'm going to help you. This is going to be worth more than $10,000 to you, type of deal. So keep that in mind. How we doing on? Almost halfway through already. Okay, I better pick it up. As far as solutions go, all right, I don't want to, you know, I'm doing the product part last because that's the last thing that you have to worry about. I want to know why they're there, where they're at, how many, all that stuff on here. So before I can come up with a good plan, because we have a ton of products, and I'm not the only one with products, right? There's a ton of products out there. Some work awesome in certain areas, and some don't do a darn thing in others, right? Completely waste of time. And so I don't like to talk bad about too many things, even that fake out. Again, it's a great icebreaker for me. I like it's a great identifier for me. We know there's a bird issue. We know the customer knows there's a bird issue, and we know that customer's failing miserably at that bird solution with the owls. But again, they were designed, you know, and I'm guilty. I have a fake hawk that we have as well, right? I do my best to refuse sending one to my installers. But if you have a new property, it's a good deterrent as far as new birds coming into an area. They see something scary, hear something scary, they're going to keep on going to the next spot. But if you already have a bird issue, they've been living there for a while, or feeding there for a while, or nesting, whatever, those scare tactics are not going to do a darn thing at all. All right. So, and we sell some of those, and we'll talk about it. And I want to talk about it because I want you guys to be familiar with everything out there, because your customers are going to ask you, right? They're going to ask you, why not this? I saw an ad for this, you know, or I saw an owl at Home Depot and it was only $19. Why are you charging me $10,000? Right. So, or avitrol, you know, and I want to poison the birds. Well, that's great. But here's maybe something better, or here's something, you know, more permanent. Here's something that won't get you in trouble. So there's a lot of different things when we can talk about that too. But I want to identify the bird issue first. You know, well, are they protected bird species or not? It is helpful to know you kind of want to know what bird you're dealing with. Not always the easiest, but most of the birds you're going to deal with are, you know, most birds are protected. Let's just put it that way. We'll talk about that here in a second. And then where are they on the building? Why are they there? What behavior? You know, are they nesting or just roosting or whatever? But I'd like to know why they're up there too. I didn't even really put that on there. Why are they up there? Are they they're up there because the lady across the street's feeding them? You know, I need to know that. The dumpster is wide open and they're dumping day-old donuts out there. I need to know that, right? I can, you know, if I have a lady up here feeding, you know, 100 birds like this up there, you know, I clean up and put some spikes up there, it's not going to do a darn thing. They're still going to be there, right? So I want to know why they're there, so we could come up with a good plan. Estimate, I'm not really concerned. I don't want you to count every single bird up on this roof, but it helps to know whether it's an infestation or just a handful or whatever. You know, it is important when I'm trapping. If we're going to trap or whatever, I'd like to know what starting point I have so I can prove to the customer that I'm making a dent and removing the population type of deal. Because if you're selling a trapping program, 6 months later they still have birds. You know, the clients know, what am I paying you for? I still have a ton of birds here. It's like, well, actually, I've been keeping count. You had 1,000 birds and we're down to about 500, so we're making headway here. But I pulled 500 birds out, but we still need to keep on going. So you have to show some sort of proof that you're doing that. So keep that in mind. As far as the birds, I don't have time to go over every bird issue that you might, or every species of birds. I'm not an ornithologist. You don't need to be one. I mean, it's nice to know what birds you're dealing with, but again, I'm more worried whether mostly concerned as a protected species or not, right? And all birds are, I would say 99% of birds are protected, federally protected with the North American Bird Treaty Act. Okay. 3 birds are not federally listed. They're listed as pest birds, invasive species, and they're the pigeons, the starlings, and the sparrows, all brought over from Europe, and all just very invasive, non-migratory, and they're not going anywhere. They're just taken over. All right, doesn't mean we can't treat for those protected species. You know, you're going to have woodpeckers, you're going to have swallows, you're going to have even crows are still federally protected. I don't know how much longer that will be, but just means we have to be careful when we're what we're doing and when. Obviously, we can't protected species. We cannot harass, can't even physically. Supposed to harass them, remove nests, active nests. Sorry. Or physically harm the birds. You know, with the 3 pest birds, pigeons, starlings, sparrows, we can remove anytime. We can trap, we can shoot, we can poison, we can pull their nest out, damage, remove the eggs, destroy the eggs and the nest. But the other birds we can't. We have to wait till, you know, the nest is no longer active, and then we can clean up and then bird proof before they come back next season. All right, so we could talk about birds in the future. There's apps out there, like a Merlin app, like the Wizard Merlin. There's a phone app on there. It's put on by the Cornell University School of ornithology. Sorry, drawing a blank. But anyways, that's a nice app. It kind of helps you select what type of bird you're dealing with. Ask you a few questions: size, color, location, what it's doing, and then it can kind of tell you what type of bird you're dealing with. You know, sometimes it zeroes in on the exact same bird. Other times it will give you like 3 or 4 options. It might be this one, or this one, and then you get into the bird biology, and you can select the sound, so you can kind of tell what it sounds like as well. So if you really want to know exactly what bird, but again, if you're dealing with a non-protected species, you know, you might want to talk to your local DNR, Fish and Game. Sometimes you have to get a permit. The woodpecker's causing so much damage. You need to get a permit to remove that bird, type of deal. So we will go that route sometimes. You know, if you can't bird proof an area, then the government will step in and allow you to remove some birds. All right. So again, pigeons. I don't want to spend too much time on the birds. I'll get to the products, but again, this is #1 pest bird. You know, where the people are, you're going to find the birds, and so again, they can, you know, 2 to 4 years, but you know, much longer in safer conditions, type of deal. I don't really care too much about all this stuff. Diet, I do worry about when I'm trapping the birds. I want to make sure I'm using the right bait, right? So if I'm in town and I'm trapping birds, I'd probably use some sort of breadcrumbs or French fries or something like that to bring the bird to my trap. If I'm on the outskirts of town, then I can start using the cracked corn and things of that nature too. So, but again, they're scavengers. They'll eat whatever. These are the birds, you know, you won't find in trees, right? They're descendants of the rock dove and rock pit, you know, and they need that sheer cliff to drop down and get out of harm's way. So they don't like the big bushy canopies. They want that flat edge there so they can escape quickly. But they're nesting. You know, you're not going to see a traditional nest with these guys. They're dirty birds, right? So they're just going to nest in trash, their own droppings. They'll nest on top of their dead mom. You know, they don't care. They're nasty birds. And they're breeding year round, especially your parts of the country. they're going to go those probably the full 4 broods per year type of deal. So they're very territorial. They mate. They're going to nest year after year, generation after generation in the same spot until you move them or eliminate them. All right. Again, that's just a map, and all 3 birds kind of have the similar histories. The darker areas is their origins, and then they just spread out to the rest of the world. So we have customers in an Arctic Circle down to the equator type of deal. So they're very adaptive birds. You'll have birds. Again, I have them in warehouses in Alaska, and I have them sitting on metal roofs in Las Vegas, in the middle of the summer. So very adaptive birds, not going there, following the birds, following the people, right? So these are basically the populations here too, but population centers minus China. Don't be fooled by that China picture. I just don't think they reported on there. They do have birds and pigeons in China. The sparrow, much smaller bird. I do like to know the size of the bird because that's going to affect which product I'm going to use as well. All right. So these are the smaller guys. Same, very aggressive as well. Similar diet to the pigeons, similar, nesting spots, but they will nest in the tree cavities there as well. But these are your more traditional bird nests that you guys are used to seeing, right? The little twigs, the little bowl-shaped twigs stuff. But they are they're breeding throughout the year as well. Similar map. And then the starling, European starling, very aggressive bird. When they do nest, they get in some crawl spaces, attics, and we'll build some really big hay nest, straw nest, some really big ones, piles of it. But they'll also run other birds out of their nest. So sometimes it's hard to tell. I've had people say, "Oh, I got a starling drilling holes in my building." It's like, "Are you sure it's not a woodpecker?" "No, it's a starling. I can see his head sticking out right now." It's like, well, the woodpecker came in and drilled that hole, and the starling came in and drove him out, and he used that hole as a nesting spot later on, type of deal. So again, they're used to just give us issues on the outskirts of town. They'd feed out in the fields and then come in and at night and cause a problem. But now you'll see them in town as well, food courts and all that stuff. But again, these guys are probably 7 to 8 inches, so it's kind of in between the pigeon and the sparrow there. Trees and buildings as well. So those are the 3 main ones. Again, you're going to deal with geese, you're going to deal with woodpeckers, crows, turkey buzzards, there's gulls. There's a whole bunch of other ones you're going to come in contact with, and we can talk about that. A lot of it's going to be used the same products, but I just wanted to go over those real quick for you. Again, let's identify the bird species, flock estimate, all that good stuff. We kind of lump bird pressure into 3 stages: heavy, medium, and light pressure. And that's going to help us kind of determine which products we use as well. So heavy pressure is in our nesting birds. It's providing them shelter. They're reproducing. They're tied into that structure to stay close to their nest. All right. So anything that's providing them shelter inside these letters, underneath a dock, inside of a warehouse, hangar, all those areas that, those are going to require a special set of products, not a ledge product, not like the spikes and the wires and stuff like that. Now we got to start thinking a little bit more like exclusion or removal and stuff like that for these areas. Medium pressure is my roosting or loafing birds. They're still embedded in that property. They're still there on a daily basis, but they're not nesting. It's not providing a sheltered area for them to nest. So it could be 5 birds. It could be 500 birds. But this is your exposed ledges, your peaks, ridges, parapet walls, wall caps, equipment, light fixtures, all that good stuff. All right. That's my medium pressure birds. And then you have the light pressure birds. This is, birds that are coming and going. They're not really resident birds. If a bird might have flown over your boss's car and crapped on him, while he's walking in the office, he's upset, but there's really not, not going to spend $10,000 to bird proof that area for one bird that flew overhead type of deal. So this is where we can use some of our scare tactics, scare devices, and things of that nature. Maybe some of our sensory products. So we have some other non-physical products that we can use as well, that are lower cost, lower risk for the client. All right. So that's the main thing. So now I kind of like to, how are we doing on time? Well, we're doing all right. Might not leave too much time to chat afterwards, but I will be available all day long afterwards if anyone wants to stick around or call me. Products, really quick. Let's go through all the different products that are out there and types of products. As far as we pretty much lump everything into these 4 categories when it comes to solutions. All right. So for that medium pressure one, the roosting birds out on ledges and stuff, we're going to use these ledge products. All right. There might be a few others on here that listen, but we'll try to go over each one of those things. Exclusion products. So if that's for the heavy pressure birds, the birds that are nesting, everything like that. So we need to get the birds out of there. We either need to seal it off completely with exclusion products, or we need to remove the bird with these reduction products. It's not even a reduction product, it's more of a reduction techniques, right? Trapping, shooting, poisoning, bait, and stuff like that. And then for the occasional bird or large open areas where you can't put product all over the place, then we have the sensory products that you can try. And we'll try to get to those as well today. All right. So everything's underneath those kind of 4 categories. I want you guys to have every tool in the toolbox available for you, and at least be able to discuss it with your customer, why you're choosing one over the other. Because a lot of times you're going to have multiple options, right? We're going to help them determine which product is best for them, whether it's cost, whether it's aesthetics, whether it's maintenance, or whether it's effectiveness as well. So those are the ones, we have options on there. First step is important. Obviously, we want to clean it up before we get out there. Not only to clean surface, to glue down my spikes, but also I also need my techs to be working in a safe environment, right? So I want to have a nice clean area for them. But also they have pheromone, the birds, we want to kill any pheromones and stuff like that are up there too, that are bringing those birds back over and over again. All right. So there's disinfectants out there. I used to have this microcide. There's DSV. Most guys clean up. So, but no, you do want to wear PPE. Like I said, you will get sick out there, even on the site evaluations. So please protect yourself. Depending on the location and how bad the area is will determine which PPE you need. If outside, I like to wear just a dust mask and goggles. Should be fine. If I'm in a crawl space removing bags and bags of fecal matter, then I'll start wearing the Tyvek suit and the respirator and stuff like that too. So outside are usually not a problem. I do want to knock the dust down when I'm scooping most of the stuff up. So remove as much physical material as you can. You can double bag it and dump it in the trash. That's fine. But they're saying dampen the droppings. I don't want that dust to be airborne and breathing that stuff in when you're cleaning it up. So don't soak it. You don't want to have to worry about cleaning up sludge, fecal sludge, but just enough to dampen it so the dust isn't flying around. Scrape and remove the rest, and then disinfect the area. But now we can power wash if we have to. All right. First, I'll talk about ledge products really quick. Again, non-nesting birds, right? This is not under a canopy or something like that. These are all exposed ledges. We've all seen the birds nesting in their spikes, right? That's because the birds were already nesting in that area. Someone cleaned it up and threw some spikes in there. The birds came back and started building the nest. And I guarantee you, they're not nesting out here up on an exposed thing. It was underneath some sheltered area. So we don't want to use those in the sheltered area inside a warehouse or anything like that. Gels, really quick. Gels have been around a long time. If you guys are in the New Mexico area, I'm not sure who's where, everything like that, but gels are sticky, and using them here in the Southwest, I rarely recommend it. There's all different gels. Gels have been around a long time, cheap and easy. That's why guys like it. goes on nice and clear. So everything's great at the beginning. It's inexpensive, looks great, and easy to do. Problem is it's sticky. So eventually dirt and debris are going to stick to it. And so when it goes up, it can trap small birds if you see it on there. So you got to be careful with that. Difficult to clean. It gets into the porous surfaces quite a bit. It looks great when you first put it up there, right? And these, they just don't like the feel of it on their feet. So they're going to avoid those areas. So it does work. It's just a very short-term solution. That's the only problem with these things, but they don't last. Yeah. So they get dirty, and that's that's what you see on there. On the right is the gel, on the left is the disc, the newer discs that if we have time we can talk about later on, type of deal. But they're going to collect dust, debris, everything like that, right? Bird wire is another great ledge product. It's been around forever. Architects still love it. So if you're going downtown, historic buildings, you're going to see a lot of this bird wire being used. So just because they prefer this look over a spike. But this is where I'm using this in the same locations where I'm using the spike. Pigeons and larger birds. Obviously, the smaller birds can dance around this stuff. It's a tightrope for pigeons and larger birds because it's too thin. There's a spring on there; it bounces them. So it's unlevel. You're just taking away that flat surface from them. That's all it is. Low cost. It's under $1 a foot, but it's high. It's very intensive. Install, very tedious. As you see on there, installation time 3 man-hours per 100 feet. Slow work. You're dealing with small components type of deal up there. So all stainless steel products, so it lasts a long time. But you might need multiple rows. It's such a thin product. You might need multiple rows to keep that bird far enough off that front edge of the building where they want to be. I didn't talk about that yet either. Birds want that outside edge, right? Especially the pigeons. They want that. They want to see the lay of the land. They want to see everything. They want to be able to see food, predators, everything like that. But also, they don't take off like helicopters, right? They're not the greatest flyers, so they're going to fall off that cliff and swoop out of harm's way. So they need that edge to get out of there quickly as well. So that's why we really just have to treat the perimeters of the areas, push them back far enough from that front edge to make that structure, not friendly for them. So again, determine, the pressure and how tall the bird is and how deep that ledge is. It's going to help me determine how many rows of product I need. Here's a picture. They're staggering the height of the rows to makes it a little bit harder to be up there. And the rest of the roof, you don't see, any product out there because the birds want that outside edge. If they're out in the middle of that rooftop, they're sitting ducks with a hawk flying over or something like that. So they want that edge. If you see a pigeon out in the middle of that roof, it's because they're nesting somewhere up or underneath the HVAC unit or something like that type of deal. So we're really just protecting that front edge so they don't have a view of that employee dining area down below in that picture. Another one, same here with, again, it's your typical window sill. Will other products work here? Of course. The spikes would work, the gels would work, electric track would work, coil, all those would work on there. You're just taking away that flat ledge. But why did this customer use this product versus any of the other ones, right? Sometimes it has to do with looks. If those are office windows that they're looking out of, they don't want to see an ugly spike out there. If it's, I can see from the reflection in the window that they're at height, a couple stories up. So it's going to require a lift to install, but also to maintain if needed to be maintained. So if I need a lift to maintain it, that might be too costly for the customer. If I put electric track up there that needs to be maintained a couple times a year, it's going to be costly. If it's gel that I have to replace every 6 months, it's going to be costly to go up there and replace it. So maybe that's why they chose this product versus the other one. I don't know why. I don't know the history of this picture. But again, you're trying to come up with the best product and the best look and the best price and everything, like the most effectiveness for the customer. So you need to have those conversations with them. All right. again, pigeons and larger for the bird wire stuff. Spikes, same thing, right? We have a couple different spikes out there. Spikes have been around a long time. Much easier to install, right? So I can do about 100 feet an hour on this compared to a third of that with a bird wire. So again, bird control is 70% labor. So again, this is where it's going to save your customer money. So it's more product cost but less labor cost in this situation. Again, glued down, screwed down, tied down. I prefer to glue this product. It's lightweight, and I don't want to put any unnecessary holes in a roof if I don't have to. Obviously, screwing it down is more secure, but again, it's not going anywhere. If you use a nice adhesive on a clean surface, it's not going anywhere. It's going to last 10 plus years like our spikes. So don't use in nesting situations. We talked about that. Again, we want to, if you give these birds an inch or two, they'll take it. All right. Stainless I think looks better. It's thinner product, so it's harder to see. But some people prefer the plastic spikes out there just because it's comes in different colors. It can blend in a little bit better, but if you're in New Mexico, it's going to turn yellow over time, right? The sun's eventually going to beat it down. Ours is pretty robust. We have a 5-year warranty on it, but it's a much thicker spike, rigid spike. So I use it sometimes on birds of prey because it could withstand the weight of a larger hawk or eagle, whereas the metal spikes will bend out of the way for some of those birds. I do have some mega spikes too, a taller, thicker grade stainless steel spike for buzzards and things of that nature as well. So there's a lot of spikes out there. Again, they're just misused quite a bit. They work awesome in most situations, but if you're undercover or in a nesting situation, it's not going to do a darn thing. It's almost rebar for the bird's nest, right? It's a nice foundation for a bird to come in and nest again in those sheltered areas. So don't use them undercover. Kind of like this picture right here, right? This was a school in LA. They did a great job of using, they love our plastic spikes, so the top 2 levels are great. They're going to do their job. But down below, underneath that canopy, those birds are just going to nest in those spikes up there. All right. So we need to seal that off, whether it's our netting or our bird slope or something like that because next thing you know, you're going to have smaller birds moving in there and living in those spikes type of deal. So one product doesn't fit all. So this picture for me is pretty much, multiple products, I lost my train of thought, but again, sometimes you have to use multiple products on a job. Here's another one, just, spike, nice and easy. Thing I want to show you about this slide is that it's keep them off those wooden decorative pieces out there that the customer wanted them off of. But if you look closely, hey, you did a great job, but you see a problem with this slide? The problem with this slide is you're just moving the birds, right? We're not killing the birds. We're just moving them to my next customer. But no, they have to go somewhere, right? So they're probably going to move up to that sign or the column or even this little light fixture to the left, right? So make sure you're having those conversations with your customers saying, hey, I'd love to get them off of there. That's easy. We can do the gel, the wire, the spikes, whatever. That's a done deal. But the birds are just going to move over here. Do you want me to take care of these other areas for you right now? Oh, no, I just don't want them crapping on my customers as they walk through that door. All right, just want to let you know. If you don't tell them that and you move them 5 feet over, they're going to be upset. Hey, I just spent a whole bunch of money on this guy and I still have birds, right? But if you prep them and you do your due diligence and you tell them what can happen, now they're going to go, oh man, Jeff told me that they were probably going to go over there. They did. All right, let me get Jeff back out here and do it again. So be upfront, let them know what can happen. But the birds are just going to move. That's what that slide is for. Again, same thing. Not a great picture at all. I told the installer, hey, they was all proud of getting this contract. It's like, hope Disney's not too upset with you. It's like, why? It's like, well, they're just going to move to the top of that sign still. right? I've seen them sit on the light fixture before. But you'd be surprised. The good thing is you don't see this. I mean, you can see this in this picture, but I live by Disney, and when I drive through there, the eye just does not pick that up. You're sitting at that stoplight looking, and you still don't notice those spikes. You're noticing the sign, you're noticing the surroundings, everything like that. But you'd be surprised once you get out there now and start looking for bird opportunities. And that would be my challenge to you, is go out there and look for this stuff. You'll see it out there. You'll see bird places that need bird products. You'll see places that have bird products, and some are working awesome and some are failing miserably. So that's my challenge to you, is to go out and look for opportunities, and discuss and figure out what could have been done better. Things of that nature, and then give me a call. But I'm running out of time here. I really apologize that we're behind on time. I wanted to talk about everything. Electric track, great product, works on all species of birds. It shocks the birds. Harmless. It zaps them. It conditions the bird. Hey, this whole area is electrified, and they don't know, because you're putting it on that ledge where they like to be. Whereas the spikes, they see it and they try to land as close as they can to it. Track, they don't realize it's a threat until they land on it and they get zapped. Great product. Works in all situations. Heavy nesting, I probably still would leave it. Probably go with exclusion methods. If you want some more information on the electric track, let me know. But it's a great product, different colors, looks so much nicer, just lower profile than the spikes and the wires and everything else like that. Different power sources, whether it's a solar charger like those, even signs, we can cut it and glue it to the signs, right? So just instead of wrapping that whole sign with a netting, we can put track on the top ledge. They boxed off those letters so the birds can't get into the letters anymore to the nest. So different, it's really easy to install. It's like gluing down spike almost. So just be aware of the electric track systems. Spiders, especially kind of a spike you put on light fixtures and HVAC units, instead of putting spike or something all over a flat rooftop or something like that. You can just put a couple of these spiders, looks basically umbrellas, it just dances around. The birds don't like the look of it on there. And then exclusion products. Again, I'm sorry, I'm way behind on time, but if the birds are nesting, you need to seal it up, right? Slope is great for your traditional 90-degree ledge. You're just taking away that flat ledge and putting a 45-degree wedge on it. Kind of like putting up crown molding. Basically, they land on that, they slide right off. They try to drop nesting material on it, slides right off. So this works great on all species of birds. You just have to have that traditional flat 90-degree ledge. But yeah, so it's taken away. Instead of putting spikes or wire or something like that on that windowsill, we can just trim out that thing, paint it to same color, and birds can't sit up on there anymore. So it's a great product. It's just limited to where you can use it. Parking garage is what it was designed for. Instead of netting off that whole parking deck, we can just put a slope up there to take away that flat concrete beam that they want to sit on. All right. It's kind of hard to sell in that picture. Again, we're just taking away that ledge, trimming it out, coloring it up. Again, we have extenders for deeper ledges. And it's like I said, putting up like crown molding, just cutting it. It's PVC, so make sure you use the right PVC blade to cut it to size, everything like that. Solar panel exclusion. I'm not sure if solar is a big growing market in your area, but here in the Southwest, we get tons of calls. The more solar it goes up, the more homes we're building for pigeons up on these rooftops in the Southwest and other parts of the country, type of deal too. And if they're nesting, we need to exclude. And we can't use our traditional bird netting because it's flexible, requires hardware that needs to be drilled into a surface, and we can't void the warranties of the solar panel or the rooftop. So we have a solar mesh. It's a black galvanized wire mesh, and it's rigid. But the key is those clips on there that are clipping onto the lip of the panel, so we're not penetrating either surface. And then it's but it's great because we don't have to worry about rats or squirrels chewing through our net either. So it keeps other critters out from going underneath those panels also, because they love going up underneath there and chewing the wires and going after the pigeon eggs and things of that nature too. So again, that's that's a great product. If you guys are doing any residential solar, this is a great product. There's a close up of the clip. It's just a one-way washer that locks that mesh to that panel type of deal. Netting really quick. I guess we'll just end with the netting. We won't get into the trapping and the poisoning and stuff like that, or the scare devices, which I'm happy to tell you about. But netting, again, it's 100% effective if it's installed properly. All different shapes, sizes, colors, things that we can help you out with. We can custom cut it for you. Like I said, black, stone, and white. The black is what I'm going to recommend 90% of the time, just because it has a longer warranty, but also looks better. Most of what we're netting off is sheltered areas. So shadowed areas, the black's going to disappear better. Even if you have a white roof or underside of canopy, the black shows least amount of dust, dirt, cobwebs, things of that nature as well. And then you have different size meshes, right? Again, most of the time I'm going to recommend the 3/4 inch. If you're gonna bird proof in place, you might as well keep all birds out. I've done some, we just have a pigeon problem and they use the larger 2-inch mesh, and 6 weeks later sparrows moved in and started nesting in that same canopy. So again, your labor is 70% of the job. It's the same whether you use one net or the other. Your hardware is going to be the same whether you use one net or the other. So might as well pay an extra, whatever, 10-15 cents a square foot more for the 3/4 inch, and make sure you're bird proof and everything. The only time I'd go with the larger meshes, if I'm doing like a gas station canopy out in the exposed area where I have to worry about, in the northern states, I have to worry about snow and ice load. But also the birds might want to stand on my net if I'm doing it straight horizontal net. And that's the 2 inches a little bit harder to walk on. And I am just about out of time, so I apologize if you guys can cut out whenever you want. I was just going to go through to the some different areas, and let me see. I'm going to get out of here. So where's my? Well, I don't know how to I'll stop share. So sorry, Lindsay, if I went over and everybody else. I mean, I can keep going. We can do this another time. We can follow up individually with you guys as well. I don't want to. I'll keep on going. I'm just saying. I know you guys. I thought you guys had other things to go to. I know you got a busy day ahead of you. But you guys tell me. I thank you very much. Again, I have a team here, nationwide that can help. We love looking at pictures. If you guys aren't sure what product to use where, that's what we do all day. We're just two things what we do all day. We consult with people calling in that need help, right? And our goal is to turn those calls into leads for our installers, because we do want to sell product, but I want to sell the right product. So we kind of try to give them their choices and push them onto an installer. The other half of what we do is we talk to installers, and they send us pictures or drawings, and we kind of help them come up with a game plan and what to tell the customer and how long it's going to take. So I do material quotes all day long. I look at pictures all day long, plans. We talk to architects to try to get our products approved on projects as well. So again, I talked to guys that have been doing it real quick. Maybe. All right. Hope you guys can see my full screen again here. That's just roof returns. For those of you doing residential, this is a common issue type of deal. And we just need to push them out of that shaded area type of deal. So, if they can't nest there, they're going to spend less time up on the roof as well. There's some just different pictures of it. I'm not a big fan of that picture because on the one on the right, they didn't bring the net all the way out to that wall. I'm afraid that, if it's a flat enough ledge, those birds will nest right next to that net job. Why not pull that net all the way out to that corner there, take it away from them? But same thing here, right? It's not necessarily a product that failed, it's the install that failed. They just tried stapling it up there. Those birds are going to push hard to get back into those areas. So we want to clean it up. You give them and they'll find the gap up there too. It doesn't take much. So just, for swallows, just make sure you're pushing the swallows down out of that sheltered area that they need to be in. Again, I probably would have lowered that net a little bit to where that shadow line is. Instead of doing each windowsill independently, they just dropped one big old black 3/4 inch net down the whole side of the historic building. So don't let people tell you it's going to look bad or they're not going to approve it and stuff like that. This is 3/4 inch mesh. It's really hard to see from the street. And this is a historic courthouse. That's the openings, that's the building opening scene of the was it Hill Street Blues back in the day? No, this building was featured in that one. Here they did use the white net. I'm not a big fan of the white netting on here, just because it's going to get beat up. But they are aware that they might have to replace that white net sooner than usual. Tan net. I'm not a big fan of this picture either, because most of that is gaps, right? Those 4 triangles up there, if it was black net, it would disappear up there. This net is actually more visual now because they went with the light color tan instead of a black net. They try to match the wood, but they should have matched the shadows behind it. The black would have disappeared so much better there. Again, underneath here, we talk about all this stuff. This is one of those gas station canopies where we want to. They love. I've been on some of these canopies where the fecal matter was 5 feet high, and just pulling bags and bags of it out of this thing. So we're pitching it up, so we don't want that net to go straight across on a flat surface like this, because the birds will just sit on top of that net and try to find a way down into their nesting spot and weigh it down. So I want to pitch it up on those situations. Sometimes we have to use extra net to seal those gaps. If I went straight across where that cable is, I've seen sparrows and starlings hang upside down on my net and push their way into those valleys of the corrugated steel. So make sure you're sealing those gaps, because birds will find that gap. Sparrows, anything bigger than 3/4 inch, they're going to squeeze through there. So we got to seal those things off. Again, that's black 3/4 inch mesh over that sign, and it's so hard to see, but it looks great. It can look great. Don't let them. Birds living in signs. You can treat the top of the signs and stuff with a ledge product, but if there's any nooks or crannies that they can get into, they will destroy your spike job. So again, most of the time I have to screen off signs all the time, and it can look good. A lot of people are just like, man, you're netting off my sign. That's my image. That's my brand. It can look good, and it looks 100 times better than alternative, obviously, of birds living in there. So we can talk more about that later on. Starbuck, again, black net over a white sign. It's just, the general public does not pick this stuff up. Your client will, because they just paid you good money to do this. But if I'm walking into a Starbucks store, it's too late. I'm not looking up at this sign. The only time I'm looking at this sign is when I'm out in the car or parking the car or in the parking lot or something like that. Once I start, I'm on foot and walk into the store or restaurant, whatever, I'm staring at the front entrance. I'm not looking up and studying this stuff. So the eye really does not pick up this net, because you're no longer looking straight up, looking at the sign. So don't, and if you need pictures, man, I might have some pictures I can share with you too, so you can share with your client to ease their mind a little bit. We have access zippers. You need to get to lights or sprinkler heads or whatever type of deal. You can add zippers afterwards. All different options. We have all different types of shapes and sizes of the traps. We can talk about trapping if you want to. Just know we have birds get in the building. We have the mist capture nets. I'm not sure if anyone's seen those. Basically, it's a really fine hair net type of material that we're hanging from these telescoping poles and walking the aisles, and scaring the birds into that net and pulling them out that way. So we can do that even if a protected species accidentally flies into a building and can't get out. We can pull them out humanely this way instead of with a trap, instead of without a cage or without a gun or something like that type of deal. So different ways to trap. And then the sensory products I wanted to talk to before. Hopefully, we got some people still hanging around. But if we can't put product. This is those gel discs. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with those. It's still the gel, but now we're playing on a little bit more of their senses. You know, before we were just playing to their touch. They didn't like the tackiness of the gel, so they stayed away from it. But now we added smell, peppermint and citronella oil that they don't like to it. And then we also put this holographic tape, the flash tape flakes in there as well. So it's reflecting light. So now the birds senses, hey, they see it and they smell it and they go, oh, that's that gel stuff we don't like, type of deal. So let's avoid that area altogether. So this is just a little bit cleaner version of the old gels, but it's more effective because, again, the more senses you can attack on a bird, the more effectiveness you're going to have. So now I can put these up with silicone and pop them off every year or whatever if I need to replace them at all, instead of that gel, which is a mess to clean up. But yeah, it's just it's a cleaner look. It's lower profile than the spikes and the wires, obviously. So signs, light fixtures, things of that nature, or high visibility areas where you don't want to put a big spike or something like that on there. Another one is the smell. Is if you guys have been around this industry for a while, there's a product called methylenthranolate, which is a grapeseed extract. So it's food grade product, but a grapeseed extract. Methylenthranolate irritates the bird's trigeminal nerves. Unlike other mammals and stuff like that, the birds have an exposed trigeminal nerve that's very sensitive to this product. So it's a very strong irritant. We've had it in liquid form for decades, and we use it to spray grass to make the grass taste bad for geese. We put it in thermal foggers to fog trees at night, and shopping centers and warehouses to drive birds out. Well, now we have a dry granular version of that product that we can put in these little pouches, a little marble sack, and we can hang it from trees or eaves and stuff like that. I have to just throw it up on my second story eave here at my house to keep, those little returns on a roof there. It's just a nasty grape smell that they don't like, type of deal. It only lasts about 3 months. But it does work on all species of birds, which is nice. So that's an option for you guys. And then we have a new and improved version of that. Kind of, it's slightly different, but it's the same active ingredient, still methylenthranolate, but it's more of a room deodorizer now. So it's like a Glade air freshener. It's a wicking system. So that little cartridge right there has a liquid on the bottom half of it and the wicking system on the top half, and you crank that, open up the seal, and it starts wicking up the top part, and you have that plastic dispenser next to it, kind of like a bathroom dispenser, but it's not battery operated or anything like that. It's always on. And that thing that's great because it smells a little bit nicer. It's your traditional grape smell, whereas that avian block was a kind of a rotten grape smell almost to it. But this one smells a little bit nicer. Doesn't last as long. This one only lasts about 2 months. So it's great recurring revenue. You can go out there and put them on a schedule to replace those every 2 months. But it covers a nice, 10, 20 foot bubble around here. Yeah, we say 8,000 cubic feet. So it's a nice little product for balconies, porches, things like that, food court areas, type of deal where you just don't want to put too much, like screen off the whole porch or something like that, where you can just mount this to the wall. And it's always on. So we're having a great results with this on all species of birds. I have guys mounting it to the side of walls next to where woodpeckers are attacking and repelling woodpeckers from an area. And beautiful is cost on here. These, methylenthranolate's usually not cheap. These little cartridges are only about $12-15 refills, type of deal. So it's very inexpensive compared to some of the other options. It is recurring, but it's a great little product for areas where you just don't want to coat it with product all over the place. Now I'm gonna cover the area with a smell that the birds don't like. Lasers are growing in popularity, all different shapes and sizes of lasers. I don't really get into them too much. I still sell the little handheld lasers, but the big automated ones guys are using at airfields and orchards and vineyards and ponds and stuff like that, golf courses, to run birds off of there. Not as effective during daylight hours, but early morning when the geese show up, these lasers are doing a really good job. What else we have? And then you get the visual. These are the ones I'm trying to get you guys to stay away from. Again, if a bird has already been there, been living there, these types of deterrents are probably not going to be too effective for you. New structure or used in conjunction with some of your other bird proofing techniques, then it helps to repel new birds and find the area attractive also. But again, it's used alone, they're really not going to do much for you. Same with the sound systems, right? You might scare them off short term, but as soon as the sound stops, they're going to come back and hit that area again as well. So just be aware of that. Again, wrap things up. Loafing birds, roosting birds, those are that medium pressure stuff. We got a whole bunch of different ledge products that you can use. And now we're going to select which one's the best cost, easiest to maintain, looks the best, things of that nature. Nesting birds, heavy pressure, we need to seal it. We either need to exclude or we need to eliminate, right? Those two in there. And then the occasional or open areas, then we can try some of these sensory products. We didn't really, obviously drones, falconry, dogs, all that good stuff that we didn't really talk about type of deal. So, but everything's in that. This should help guide you a little bit on which products might be best. And then you can always run ideas by me too. Hey, Jeff, I'm thinking about using spikes here. What do you think? Well, let me look. All right. Yeah, that would work great. Or, have you thought about this product? So let me know again. And then we do want to identify target markets. There's, I don't know who's doing what out there. Commercial, again, it's an easy sell. You have customers that I would guess 50% of your existing customer base is going to have bird issues. So it's not like you really have to go outside the box too much. I would take care of your existing customers first. Make sure they're aware that you're also a bird specialist and that you can help, so they're calling you instead of calling your competitors. Because if you can't help them, they have to go somewhere, right? So residential, again, it is a bit of a sticker shock for residential guys. I tend to focus on the multifamily residences. They usually have a pool of money, right? They have a budget to in their HOA or whatever to make sure they have a safe and healthy environment for their tenants. And so they're not having any vacancies. Then ag is a huge growing market for us as well. The federal government is requiring any large body of water that may be contaminated to be bird proofed. So they're putting nettings over these ponds, retention ponds, slump pits, oil pits. So you'll see them at the airports netting up the ponds. Even solar plants have wastewater that they're trying to cover. Wastewater treatment plants are netting it off areas. So that's a growing market for us. Just know that we have access to much larger, thicker nets too for some of those really big projects. I think that's it. Again, I don't know if any of you guys have these large accounts. But again, they're experiencing the same thing as the smaller guys are. These are those 6-figure projects. Different sales cycle. It might take a year or two to get it in their budget and stuff like that. But they're out there, work being done on these. So if you have any of those, let them know that you can take care of their bird issue. But these are the ones I want you to focus on: the commercial, industrial side, the medium sized stuff. These are the ones you can knock. These are your existing accounts. These are the ones you can knock out in less than a week. These are your $5,000 to $10,000 jobs. So this is what you should focus on. And the residential, we talked about that again. So, and the ag, I don't know, but that's about all I got. Where do we stop sharing here and see if who's still on there? I still got 9 of you guys. So again, I appreciate your time sticking with me an extra half hour. I know it was very brief. Anything from okay, here we go. Anything from crows. I'm in Central Florida. Oh, you guys are all over. Awesome. I didn't know. For some reason I was thinking you guys were in New Mexico. Crows all over the country causing problems. golf course, the paint here. They're paint everywhere because one is they're scavengers and they are protected. Most scavengers are not protected, but it depends. The question is, it depends. They are smart, they're extremely smart, but it depends where they're giving you a problem. If they're on the structure itself, that's easy. Now I can treat it like the other pest birds on a rooftop, right? If it's just on the edge of a building, you have all those ledge products that work great. They're in the trees, that's a different problem, right? If they're down in the ground digging for grubs and bugs and stuff like that, that's a different problem. So you do have the lasers for those openings. We do have a sound system that plays their distress calls and predator calls. Again, I'd like to know where they're at and what they're doing. They are very rambunctious and stuff like that. I can keep them off of, again, you have a lot of ledge products, keep them off of certain structures. Trees are a different problem. Again, like that avian block hanging that from the tree. Thanks. Yeah, trees and ground. That is a problem. That is a tough one because obviously our industry wants the birds. We love birds. Without birds, I'd be out of business. But I want them off of my customer's property. But we want them in their natural. We want them in natural habitat. We want them in trees. So that's the problem. Obviously, depending on how big the area is, maybe we can treat. Maybe it's a combination. Maybe they're going back and forth between the trees and the rooftops. So we might have to treat the roof still. We might be able to use the avian block in the trees. You have lasers, the manual lasers, but you'd have to stay on top of that. You have to condition the bird with the lasers. Say, hey, every time I come to this tree or this ground area, I get run off by these lasers, and they just give up over time. The large open areas, there's not a lot you can do. You can do the sound system that plays hawks and other predators to try to scare them off from that area. But unfortunately it's hit or miss. So anything that reflects light, blows in the wind, makes a noise helps. But you can't, I can't guarantee, you can fog the trees with that same methylenthranolate, but it's an ongoing